What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today I wanted to draw some attention to my favorite deck from today's Golden Gauntlet World Championship Qualifier, number 3 from Iris, who put together this Bullseye Silver Surfer deck. And I have long been a fan of Bullseye basically since its release alongside with Daken, which is typically seen in a larger discard strategy. And I actually want to take a look at an example deck list for that right now. This is the typical makeup that we've seen of decks like that, with Grandmaster as the kind of 12th card on the periphery, which sometimes gets replaced with Gambit, sometimes gets replaced with Moon Girl. And in Iris's deck, we actually see all 3 of those periphery cards, and then all of the other discard related cards are completely cut from the deck in favor of, well, first off, playing Grandmaster, Gambit, and Moon Girl, a few ways to pump Daken up, and a really tiny Silver Surfer package that is doing a few interesting things here. Mostly, it is giving you a different angle to attack from for games where you don't draw Daken, similar to those other cards in discard decks. I've always said Bullseye discard, if you've heard any of my content in the past, I always refer to it as Bullseye Daken discard, partially because Daken discard is alliterative, but also because I think that Daken is the most important piece of the deck in terms of high rolling, and this deck takes that concept even further. By playing Grandmaster and Moon Girl, you just have so many more potentials to high roll, and of course, Frigga is always going to be there, the main combo in the deck. If you haven't seen it, you play Bullseye or you play Daken, then you play the other one, then you Frigga the Daken, so that way on the final turn you can play a second Daken, discarding both Marumasa shards with Bullseye, and then they both double twice up to 8 and then 16. And if you can find additional ways to create more Marumasa shards, either through Grandmaster or Moon Girl, then you can go even further over the top. That's part of the reason Quinjet is in the deck. That allows you to play both Daken and a Moon Girl on the final turn. Luna Snow does the same thing. And Silver Surfer, in addition to just being like a reasonable backup plan, it is also another way to pump up Dakens, which is like a half a Marumasa shard. If you can pump up your Dakens before you start doubling them, pump them up to 6 and then double them twice up to 24. That's pretty good. Similarly, Agony can basically just give you a free double on your Daken. You play Daken into the Agony, and then it has 7 power. You grab another copy of it with Frigga, double them twice, and then you are looking at 28 power Daken. Surge would be the smallest of these potential Daken doublers, but does also reduce the cost of Daken, which allows you again to play it alongside Moon Girl on the final turn, which is like the biggest of those high rolls, because if you can get even more Marumasa shards, then those numbers in the 20s are all of a sudden either in the 50s or at 100. And you can also use Moon Girl to double Daken in a pinch. You play turn 3 Bullseye, turn 4 Moon Girl, turn 5 and 6 in some combination, play your Quinjets and Dakens, and you've got extra energy potentially to fill out your curve to do so. So this seems like a really exciting new take on Daken to me. Gambit is also doing some work in the deck as potentially a way to discard some Marumasa shards, or just have a little bit of interaction against your opponents, and you can Grandmaster a number of different cards in this deck as well. The main things that you are going to want to Grandmaster are going to be the Gambits and the Dakens, but Silver Surfer could certainly get it done. You can play both of those on the final turn and just put a bunch of points on your 3s, and again, that's like the backup plan. But I think it is a reasonable backup plan because the whole purpose is really it's taking up less slots than all of those Swarms and Scorns and Colleen Wings and Morbiuses, but it is also contributing to the Daken game plan by being able to pump up Daken, with the only real standout card in the deck being Sebastian Shaw, but with some of these tinier pumps, Agony and Surge, it can make some sense. So that's why we see Sebastian Shaw rounding this deck out rather than playing something like Brood, though I think Brood could be a stand-in for Sebastian Shaw. It's not going to work as well with Agony specifically, so I think that is the reason that we saw this. Plus, Sebastian Shaw doesn't have an on reveal, so that could be better or worse for Grandmaster synergies, depending on how you want to run that. Recently, I was showing off an Invisible Woman First Steps plus Daken deck, which was looking to operate in a pretty similar space, right? Bullseye, Daken, Frigga, Quinjet, Prodigy, and Moon Girl. No Grandmaster in this deck, but also Nico Minoru could be a doubling card in a pinch, and Bastion. Maybe all of this was taking it a little bit too far, but there's a number of things that this deck wants to double, be it Sunspots, Jocasta's, Invisible Women's, or Daken. So a lot of different angles for all of these double effects, and I could see some of these cards, mainly Nico and Prodigy, which is also a 3-cost card, still being implemented into Iris's Bullseye Silver Surfer deck list. And this is, again, though, a similar philosophy that, like, I want to play the Bullseye Daken part because that has the potential to go really big. I just don't know if I want to play discard as my backup. I want different backups that allow me to play more high roll potential, so that way I can beat other people's Dakens and other people's big things that they are doing, because 20 power-ish might not cut it, but 50 power I think certainly will. So I want to play Moon Girl, I want to play Prodigy, so that way I can make my Dakens trigger one additional time, get at least one more Marumasa shard, but then I want a different backup plan. And if you just want no backup plan at all, this is actually the deck that the game recommends to me if I have it auto-generate a Bullseye deck right now. This is just all in Daken. One card that I have not talked about as an additional way to double up on Daken is Arnim Zola, which I actually have played in Daken decks in the past, where you just want to Arnim Zola the Daken on the final turn, and that gives you an additional Marumasa shard to send out of there with Bullseye. This deck plays a number of ways to draw cards as well, with Nico Minoru, Adam Warlock, Crystal, and Magic, which also has the benefit of giving you another turn to play your cards. Astral Projection can double up on a number of these different on reveals, and then the deck is playing both Wasp and Black Cat, so that way your Astral Projection isn't going to hit the cards that you don't want it to hit. I'm not sure. I have not played this deck at all, and I don't know exactly what it's going for with all of the pieces like Fire Hair and all of that, but really this is just like an all-in version of Daken with no backup game plan. But that's why I really like this list that we just saw from Iris today, because I think that her backup game plan here of Silver Surfer is really not something that you want to be relying on. You want those huge numbers from the multiple Dakens, and fitting in Grandmaster is something that not even that all-in version of Daken, that wasn't even playing Moon Girl or Frigga, you know? So I think that this deck definitely does have some cool things going for it. I do wonder if maybe you could put in like Brood as well, and I was going to bring up that there is no, what is her name? Captain Marvel? Yes, Captain Marvel, because this deck isn't really trying to like fill all of its locations and things and really get the use of Captain Marvel's ongoing ability. So Sebastian Shaw makes a little bit more sense over that and over like Human Torch, but I do think Brood could be interesting in a deck like this. But I'm excited to see what people do with Daken and Bullseye plus Silver Surfer going forward. I just wanted to make a short little video on it because I'm certainly going to be trying this deck out myself. That's going to be it for me though today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.